Hello everyone, welcome back to Jacqs Scraps. Thank you for joining me today for our What a Card series. Today we will be using an oldie but goodie card technique using wax paper. And here is the final card. I am really excited to show you this technique, so let's dig right in. One of the first things you're going to need to do is to pick out the embossing folder that you would like to use for this type of card. Now, typically you want to get one that has like a background card with a lot of detail, and that will really add to the card that we're creating. I've chosen this one that has daisies and little dots and hearts on it, a nice little spring type appeal. And then I thought I would try this new one that I got with the houses on it, and I thought that might be neat to try that one out. Next, you're going to need some wax paper. I'm using this Reynolds Cut-Right wax paper, and you're going to just pull a length of that out, and I already have that out. And then we're going to cut it down to actually fit the embossing folder that we're using. So for this one, I already have it cut down, and then I need to cut this one down. So we'll just put this under here. I'm going to do it at about 4 1/8 of an inch. It doesn't have to be exact, and it cuts really well with this. I noticed that with my Fiskars precision trimmer, it doesn't work at all. So you definitely need one that has the handle that comes down onto the wax paper rather than one that slides. At least that's what I found. And for the length of this one, I need 5 7/8. So there we go. And we have our wax paper. Now that we have our wax paper cut, what we're going to do is crumple it up. You may be wondering why. Well, it adds texture to the background that we're going to create. So once you have it crumpled up, you open it up, make sure it looks like it's got a lot of detail. If it doesn't, you just crumple it up again. So here we go again. Yeah, like this one, it seems like it could use some more crinkling, so we'll just crinkle it up there and open it up again. Yeah, lots there. Okay, now we will just flatten those out. Now we'll take our embossing folder and place the wax paper inside. You want to get it the best you can in there. Let's do this one. And now what we're going to do is run it through our embossing machine. So I'll be right back. Now we're going to take a single sheet of copy paper and fold that in half. You will need some white cardstock cut down to match the size of your embossing folders, and you're going to need 2 pieces of each of those. You will also need to have an iron. If you have a craft iron or just a regular iron, that will do as well. You want to plug that in and have it on high heat. Okay, what I've done is I have one of those movable irons, and I'm putting that down on my surface so I don't ruin it. So I'll be using this. If you have an ironing pad or whatever, that would work as well. So we're going to take our piece of copy paper that we folded over. We come back from running this through our embossing machine, and I hope you'll be able to see the impression that it leaves on the wax paper. So we have 2 types of texture now, the embossing folder and when we crinkled it up. And now what we're going to do is take 2 pieces of cardstock that match the size of the embossing folder, and we're going to make a little sandwich. So we have our cardstock, our wax paper, and then our cardstock on top. So when we have that aligned, we put it underneath or in between the paper here. Then we're going to take our iron, which is on high heat, and iron this. Now, depending on the temperature of your iron, it may not take very long, because what we're doing at this point is transferring the wax to the cardstock. Okay, so let's open this up. When we take off the top cardstock, we're going to flip it and lay it down, and hopefully you'll be able to see that there is an impression on the card. So put that with the wax side up, remove the wax paper, and then of course this is the wax side up, and we'll just set that aside and do our next one. So I brought in my other two pieces of cardstock here. Let's take out the wax paper. This one's probably going to be harder to see. There you go. And again, we'll open this up and make a sandwich. We have our cardstock, our wax paper, and our cardstock. And iron. Now when you open this up, and if you're not sure if you've ironed it enough, you could always hold it here with your fingers, flip the cardstock back, and then you should be able to see the impression of the wax paper and embossing folder on your cardstock. And if you lift the wax paper, you can check this one as well, and there is an impression there also. Now do be careful, the paper will be hot. But again, you want to flip this one up, set that aside, take the wax paper off that one, and then set this one aside. Next, what we're going to do is take one of the cards that we had. I'm going to use the back side of this copy paper. I'm going to try this Momenta Rosebud color, and I have a Tim Holtz dauber. I'm going to ink that up and then start to go over the card. And what should happen is you should be able to see the pattern. Because the wax creates like a resist. Now, once you have the ink on the cardstock, if you want to take a piece of paper towel and kind of go over it, so any ink that might be sitting on top of the wax can come up. See, just a little bit, but that's what it looks like. Really pretty. Now, I don't mind that there's varying coloring in the degrees of the color, but if you prefer it to be darker, just certainly go over it again. Really nice. Let's try the next one. Okay, so I added the house imprint here, and I think I'll try the Seedless Preserves from Tim Holtz. See how that works. I'm not sure that the house embossing folder was a good choice, because it's really hard to tell that that's what's in the background. Yeah, look at that. You can't really tell. Those are houses. Let's try the next one. I'll just do that in the same color. Okay, here's how the two houses came out. Quite frankly, I think it's very difficult to tell that that's what's in the background. I mean, I see one here, 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 couple here. So it looks more Aztec to me. Yeah, that's strange. So that really wasn't the best embossing folder to use for this card design. I guess that's what you'll have to do, is just, you know, try out your embossing folders, see which one works best, and then go with that. Now, you certainly could use this as a background to something, but for the idea that I had in decorating, it doesn't really match. So I probably won't use it. But we can go ahead and finish off creating a card out of the other one that we created. Okay, so I think I'll save these in my stash for something else, but we will definitely go ahead and finish off making a card out of this design. To try something out, what I did was take the house embossing folder and I ran it through just over the, you know, inked cardstock that we did, and it does look cool. You can see it a little better. I still probably wouldn't use it for a card. And then what I did was I took black soot distress ink, I ran it over the top part of the embossing folder and then ran that through. And this is how that came out. Now that is cooler looking. Again, I'm not so sure I would use it. I just think I've come to the realization this isn't a good embossing folder for this particular craft. So I did want to show you some other options of how to use the embossing folder when this doesn't work. Now that we have our top layer on our card base, I have this sentiment that I printed out and layered on black cardstock, and I think I'm going to put that here in the center. And I'm using these paper flowers from Basil Basics papers, and I think I'm going to put one on each end. In the center I added a Recollections embellishment, and I think that would look really cute. Well, that's it, everyone. Thank you for joining me today for this What a Card series. I hope you enjoyed creating this wax paper technique and enjoyed our cute little card that we created. All right, see you next time.